MJF, and Will Ospreay just had an absolute go-home segment. I'm Ollie Davis. I'm joined by Luke Owen, DAD. Welcome to the WrestleTalk Podcast review of AEW Dynamite in Cardiff, England. If you haven't already, please press the thumbs up button, give us a subscribe, leave a comment down below, and send in your Omegachats to WrestleTalk.com/support, or read out every single one over $5 before the end of the show. But our opening discussion point wasn't the opening of the show.
Nope.
That's usually where we get Max. It's the Max segment. It starts with the cold open. Now, this came about half an hour into the episode, quarter of the way through. Ospreay comes out first. Huge kind of home country reaction.
Yeah, it's home nation reaction in the same way that, you know, Drew was the hometown hero when he was going for the belt in Wales.
Or Finn Balor when he's wrestling in England as well.
Yeah, who's not even part of Great Britain.
What? I don't know what you're talking about. So Will comes out, he gets this massive applause. Then MJF comes out, he gets big boos. And they go back and forth in a way that's totally different from all the weeks building up to this. They did not focus on the US-UK rivalry.
No, but Will was kind of doing what American wrestlers do when they're doing like local sports team heat, but instead it was local British sitcom heat.
Or a television commercial.
Well, that's it, yeah.
Cheap Pops.
He made references to Gavin and Stacey, a show that's not been on the air for 10 or so years now.
Incorrect.
Apart from its
Christmas
specials, which, you know what I mean. Like, it has not been popular for like 10 plus years.
It is part of this nation's social fabric now.
And it's true, and it is terrible, which does tie into our nation's fabric as
It's
well.
not terrible. And I didn't watch it at the time. I thought it was rubbish at the time, but I rewatched it in lockdown, and I was like, this is really sweet and good.
It is quite sweet. And good.
It's imagine, because Americans might not know it, but they will know one of the people who came out of it. Because we managed to get rid of him over there.
Oh, it was a glorious day when he left.
This was James Corden when he was tolerable.
Not even then to stretch.
I feel like
there's a reason why we booted him out. Unfortunately, they gave us Piers Morgan back. We're only allowed one in, one out. One in, one out. But he made references to that. He made references, and this is actually an even older reference, to Barry Scott's Sillet Bang commercials, which were on the air when I was at school, and I've not been at school for 20 years. Yeah.
I really encourage Americans or anyone else from the world who's watching, people who aren't from the UK, to go and YouTube search Barry Scott's Sillet Bang commercials.
And then listen to the dance remix of them.
Yeah.
Bang, 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 bang.
Go watch the Peter Sanavenovich sketch version of it, which is Kitchen Gun.
Kitchen Gun.
Goodbye, dirt! So Barry Scott would speak like this. Sillet Bang!
Yeah.
Oh, just, yeah.
And
it was on TV all the time, and it was so loud and obnoxious.
Hi, I'm Barry Scott, and I'm here with Sillet Bang!
He spoke like a guy who lived too close to an airport. You know, his eardrums burst, always way too loud.
But it was sort of like a very terrific references and stuff. He also made reference to the fact like wrestling in like local Welsh like sports halls. Sort of like, a lovely bit of British. I might turn my microphone up ever so slightly. Actually, I think I've been turned down from the TLC we just recorded.
Well, I'll keep talking then. So it's like where Mark Andrews would have started wrestling, and he's a very famous Welsh wrestler. Yeah. But it went from that into something more philosophical, I would argue. Is Will's in the home country, home nations, whatever.
If I also may, just on the sports centre things, my cousin Wendy was texting me last night. She's like, I'm excited for All In, so I'm just watching some AEW to kind of like get me all hyped up. Will Ospreay's really good, isn't he? And I said, yeah, it's great. She goes, I feel so lucky, like I used to see him in Rivermead, which was like my local swimming baths, like my local swimming pool, in 2015. I saw him wrestle then. I feel so like privileged to have seen him. She goes, I actually forgot who he wrestled, so I went and looked at the card. It was Okada.
What? Okada in a swimming hall.
In a swimming hall in Reading.
Yeah. But that was sort of Will's section of the promo segment where he got to just lap up being on his home turf. And then it was MJF's turn to reply. And he didn't go hard on the American stuff, which, you know, it makes me question building so much of the feud around the American stuff, because surely the time to use the American heat stuff is when you're in England or Wales.
He did do it, though.
He did bits of it.
He did bits and pieces of it, but it's because the killer line of this is the reveal of why he did and why he is doing what he's doing. This is all a facade.
So MJF first tries to cover up what the real reason is by saying that he doesn't like Will Ospreay because of the way he wrestles. And it becomes this wrestling philosophy argument of, yeah, look, you have to do all these flips. I just have to do this.
Yeah.
And I love that because he's doing the kangaroo pose. And he is somehow making us feel bad for being dumb enough to cheer him doing that last year. I thought that was great heel work.
When we were at the Rev Pro show a couple of weeks back, lovely chants of the kangaroo kick was FNS. But yeah, he was talking about how, like, you know, AEW begged me to come back. Tony Khan begged me to come back. David Zaslav and Warner Brothers Media begged me to come back because I was needed on this show because Willy Boy here just wasn't good enough. And Will fires back by this being like, well, yeah, but you don't really represent what this company is about. You became a joke, and a joke that went on for far too long. And the main event of All In last year was some circle jerk between two guys who were doing double clotheslines and stuff. Meanwhile, Tony Khan's on the phone to me being like, I need you to come and wrestle at the biggest show I'm doing because I don't have enough faith in my world champion to sell tickets.
It's a great line. And, you know, it's not undermining that epic storyline between Cole and Max, because I do think that's still excellent. But yeah, it's like this battle for what AEW's heart is. Mm-hmm. Is it MJF with these sports entertainment focused things, leaning things, I would say, or is it Ospreay with the incredible in-ring matches? Yeah. It's kind of an existential identity question that AEW has really wrestled with in the last couple of years since WWE got good. And yeah, AEW's have to define itself in opposition.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, everyone says that you're the best wrestler on the planet. But who decided that? The fans? Their opinion is meaningless. And he's building a lot of this up because eventually we get to the point where he reveals everything that this has all been building to. This whole America gimmick, this whole heel turn, this whole facade that he's been doing is all about his insecurities.
Yeah, the build-up is great to it because he's so calm and collected throughout this entire time. The crowd are chanting, shut the F up, and he just looks at them and goes, no. And then Will says, where is the bit here? Like, it took MJF 4 years for these people to love him. Ospreay did it in 4 weeks with my entrance music. Will's a role model. They used to love you, MJF. They don't love you anymore. And that's the trigger for MJF, where all the composure leaves him, and he screams in Ospreay's face, they loved me until you showed up and ruined it.
And that is the payoff to the look that he had when they had that segment all those weeks ago when Will Ospreay came down and MJF, when he was talking to Daniel Garcia about, it's me versus you at Wembley. Like, that's the match I want to do. And Daniel Garcia suddenly realized that is not the biggest match he can have anymore. And Will Ospreay comes down during that segment, and Will just has this look on his face with a penny dropped of like, I've been replaced.
Yeah.
He is the Buzz Lightyear and I am the Woody in this scenario. And he's been masking it for so long with this whole, it's all about USA versus America. I've renamed this the American World Championship. I'm an American hero. And in that moment there, he lost it all. The mask slipped and he revealed his truth. He revealed Max.
He revealed, that kid in college who just wants his friends to like him. And it's not like he's also talking about it's Warner Bros. It's Tony Khan. He even has the line that when the fans, they think you're the best wrestler, so what, Will Ospreay? I've got the critics. I've got the pundits, like WrestleTalk's Luke and Ollie. He might have well has been saying. Like Conan. And yeah, it's not that. He doesn't want their love. He wants the fans' love. He does want the fans to love him.
He does want the fans to respect him.
Oh, I thought it was... And like that in conjunction with what happened to him last year when the fans did love him with the Adam Cole stuff. and Adam Cole turned on him. So MJF is now like, well, I don't need anyone's love, but actually he does.
He does, but I also think MJF is such a smart wrestler in the way that he has crafted his character, in that he is playing off a lot of what we as fans were saying about the end of his World Championship run. When you talk about that Full Gear main event and you talk about the Jay White angle and everything, where people are like, I'm kind of done with this MJF sports entertainment thing. And then when he goes, all the conversation this year has been, the feeling is being restored. We're going back to being where the best wrestle. And that's all the time when he wasn't there. And I think he's now fed all of that into his emotions and his character. And he let it slip in that one moment. But then he goes to the corner, he composes himself, and then he goes right back into MJF mode and does the MJF stuff.
Yeah, he goes to the bottom of the barrel, the armor comes up. He talks about what a great guy Will is, a great father, and I thought, well, this is Christian's territory here. He's a great husband, and he was talking to Will's wife before the show and his so-called kid. And I thought, oh no, it's going to go down this route because, of course, Will is, somewhat adopted.
It's a stepson.
Yeah. And he describes it, like, MJF goes through great lengths to describe how, because the kid is from a previous relationship. And I was like, I can see Will getting more and more wound up.
Because they've said, we're not going to do any physicality in this opening segment, which had obviously been established earlier in the night in the Baker Monet segment.
And, Will's ready for it as well. And then MJF stops. And he's like, no. I'm saying that's admirable. That's what a great guy. But yeah, after talking to your wife, I think the next kid she has won't be yours either. He went there instead.
He has a little cheeky look down the camera as he says it as well.
And Will asked Tony Schiavone, how much will I get? You've got a line to Tony Khan in your ear right now, haven't you? How much will I get fined if I just deck this guy? £100,000. Yeah, worth it.
Decks to MJF, they get into a brawl. Dynamite ring to the head, busts Will open. Really, really good. Like a great go-home angle.
And MJF also goes to hit the Tiger Driver, but all the security run in, stop him. Well, we get recognition of who?
Christopher Daniels.
Fallen Angel chants break out across Wales.
You could tell that you're in England. Fallen Angel. Cut his teeth down in Portsmouth at the FWA.
Yeah, this Adam Pearce pseudo-authority figure Daniels isn't my Daniels. It's Bad Addiction or Fallen Angel. Later on, Will is backstage. Renee goes over to him to ask some questions. He's covered in blood on his face. And before Will has a chance to answer, Danielson walks up to him and says, "Do it!"
Tells him, not in so many words, but just enough for you, the audience at home, to know. Do it. Hit the move. I know you are not doing the move because of what could have happened to me, but I'm almost giving you my blessing to do this move. And what I love about that is now tied together the World Championship story where Danielson has been, he's kind of already just resigned himself to this as his retirement and stuff. And the last few weeks have kind of fired him up. And now he's fired up and he's realized, I need to stick around here. This is important to me. In with the Will Ospreay storyline to be like, look, I care about this, so you need to do this as well.
I never thought about that actually until you just said it.
It's almost as if they're telling too many stories.
If Danielson wins the title, I mean, surely Will is the guy to beat him with the Tiger Driver.
I actually hadn't even thought of that, but it's not a bad shout because
Will's got to win over Danielson.
He's got a stake to the title, right? Because I've beaten you already this year.
Yeah. The Tiger Driver stuff for me throughout this feud, because MJF goes up to Will at one point as well, and he's like, the only way you can beat me is with the one move you won't hit. I'm like, I feel like Will has been cool with hitting the move on and off for a month.
No, he hasn't hit the move though, has he? He's gone for it, and then he's gone for it, and then he has rethought, and then he's thought about it, not done it.
Well, first off, that Swerve Strickland match, he was absolutely going to hit it.
Yeah, and then didn't.
No, I don't. But and then later on, I know the Rev Pro show isn't strictly canon, but he says, "Oh, I'm going to use the Tiger Driver on you," Like, he explicitly said that.
I don't think he said that at the Rev Pro show.
Well, I'm going to do whatever it takes.
Yeah, I'm going to do whatever it takes, but that is not, I'm going to hit the Tiger Driver.
Surely, it's all-encompassing.
Well, that's because wrestling is as subtle as a brick. Like, it is letting us, the audience, know this is what we are building to. But he is not explicitly saying, this is the move I am going to do. Because the story is, I will do whatever it takes, but I'm not willing to do that.
For me, it's not been a good enough, a consistent enough reluctance.
I cannot fathom that personally, because every single match he has done, he has gone to hit it and then done his big Will goofy faces about having second thoughts of doing it.
I will put over one line that Will had, though, which we missed off because it was just before the great MJF line. It was when Toni had rang him last year, even though he's under contract for New Japan, to put on the best match at All In Wembley last year. Despite Tony Khan having 3,000 people under contract and their nan.
Yeah, I thought this was a tremendous segment, a superb go-home angle to get you hyped up for their pay-per-view match.
I feel like no one does the character reveal stuff the way Max does as well. Mm-hmm. Like in the Punk feud, in the Adam Cole feud, now here as well. Yeah, loved it. Let's have a look at what everyone thought on the Omegachats. Matt Hennessy says, I thought this was a solid go-home show that did a great job of selling the pay-per-view. The matches were good, and the promos were solid. Ospreay and MJF was a mixed bag for me. The first of the promo felt like it was just Will talking about being the alternative for 10 minutes and doing some inside baseball remarks. Hey, it's on you if you don't know Barry Scott.
But I was going to say, but that's also... I'm glad that someone has brought this up, because that is every promo on American wrestling television for us here in the UK. When you go into a building and you make references to sports teams, it means nothing to us here. So this is basically our equivalent of that. It's not making sports team references, it's making references to television adverts from 20-odd years ago.
Matt continues. But the last 10 minutes were excellent when things got personal between the two and MJF's mask fell off to reveal just how insecure he is. Thought overall it was a good piece of business.
I thought the whole segment was really, really great. I can understand how some people, especially if you are American, making references to Gavin and Stacey and Barry Scott are going to go over your head. But it's also, that's the Will character.
It was only 30 seconds in what was a 20-minute segment as well. Kevin says, I love this segment. Max admitting the real reason he turned heel was a huge moment. I hope after All In he descends into more madness after losing to Will. Also love the main event segment between Swerve and Bryan. Yes. I mean, while the Max reveal I think is the best storytelling thing on this episode, hot damn, the best go home segment is Bryan Danielson swearing. The last time I went from here to I want to see the match right now was the Ospreay Jericho segment.
Oh, yeah.
Last year.
That's right, yeah.
Like, I was not really that interested in it at all. They had that promo on Dynamite. I was like, oh my God.
I said to you last week, didn't I? Just give him one promo and he'll turn you around. Because he's Bryan Danielson and he's the best to ever do it.
He's Bryan effing Danielson. Will Campbell says, hi guys, that was a total barnstormer of a segment, and it was just them talking. Max has been one of my faves for a long time, and the continued progression of Max's character hiding his insecurities behind a mask of malice never fails to be compelling. The Gamer Domain says, I was there for Dynamite and Collision. Were they both taped last night?
Yes.
It was
we won't do any Collision spoilers on this show.
It was an incredible atmosphere. I lost my S word when Oku was in the dark match. When Ospreay made his entrance, I was in the stand, and the stands were shaking. It was incredible.
Such a great pop for Will. So Michael Oku was it was the dark match. He beat Serpentico, which had been reported that he was going to be sort of involved in it. I actually thought he might be the one to run down and make the save when he went to go hit the Tiger Driver, but I think it works better with it being security. Like that again that's probably quite a little bit inside baseball, because that would need you to require to have known about the Rev Pro match.
100%.
But the other thing, Nina Samuels, this is not a spoiler, she's on Collision. She's teaming with Kid Lycos against Chris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway.
Great. Kuzu says, every time people think MJF is washed, he always brings it back. He already revealed this in his first heel promo, resenting that he literally broke his body for the fans and they moved on to someone else and regressed to his old ways as a result.
It's almost like people just got worked. It's when people are like, he's washed. It's like, no, he's working you.
I know. People saying he's washed is a very bad faith.
Well, of course
anyway.
it is, but that's the internet for you.
Please keep sending in those Omegachats to WrestleTalk.com/support. And, of course, also go over to Patreon and support us over there, patreon.com/WrestleTalk, where we recorded TNA Genesis 06 yesterday.
Yes, we did.
4 beautiful hours watching that show, talking about that show, and acknowledging the true wrestling chief, Kevin Nash.
Yeah, we reviewed TNA Genesis 2006. It is the start of our next Patreon WrestleTalk Extra series, where we're going to be looking at TNA's greatest rivalry, Samoa Joe versus Kurt Angle. So we've now watched their debut match. We've got 4 more matches of theirs to cover across some of TNA's best performing pay-per-views they've ever done. In fact, it is their best performing pay-per-views they've ever done with that sort of series of matches. And as of me, maybe this will be the hook and tease that you need. I can give you in-moment opinions of what I had on TNA Genesis 2006 because I've got my old forum posts that I made about the show at the time. And some of them, yeah, it is reading, the forum posts of a 20-year-old who thinks he knows more than he does.
I was embarrassed for him.
Which is fine, because you're now watching a podcast of a near 40-year-old pretending to know more than he does.
Yeah, it turns out Luke's had a copium addiction since his 20s.
Like everyone is, the tribalists are now with WWE and AEW. I was there for TNA in 2006.
Oh, yeah.
No, the Vidican Mafia, it's creating buzz. It's creating buzz around TNA. Everyone's talking about it.
And for full disclosure, I was also coping hard as well at that time. So please do go over to patreon.com/WrestleTalk. There's an exclusive episode of Survival Series there as well, where what did we do for that one?
Survival Series?
Yeah.
That is every women's champion.
Yeah, every women's champion. Me and Luke are in that, so go and watch that there. Right, let's do the full play-by-play of this episode. It opened with the TBS title contract signing between Britt Baker and Mercedes Moné. Idea was they're not allowed to touch, but Camille's there. I sometimes when I'm watching a match, 3 moves in advance, I can go, okay, they're going to do this, double down, blah, blah, blah. Foresight. I watched this entire segment, and it wasn't until when Britt Baker stands up and goes, I can't touch you, but I can hit you, and bonks Camille. I'm like, oh! It's the most obvious thing. I did not see it until it happened.
I really enjoyed this as a back and forth. I think this gives the match some good character within it. I thought Baker in particular was really, really great in this segment. And yeah, it was a cool reveal at the end of the bopping of Camille.
Britt had some really good lines. You were one of 4, Mercedes. I was one of 1. I thought Monet was really good as well.
Yeah, she was, yeah.
Doing her heel shtick, saying that I've always been all in on being a wrestler. You were a dentist.
Yeah, you had a backup plan.
For me, though, at the end, they sort of went that route of Baker's you inspired me, you paved the way for women's wrestling. And at the end of all of this, when I beat you, I hope I shake the hand of that person again. She
wants the real Mercedes Moné, not this CEO character.
Me, when it just sort of lost me. Mm-hmm. The idea of women's feuds having to be about, oh wow, women wrestle now. Still, I feel a bit patronizing.
I think it was because it's Mercedes and she was there and is now almost coming in and being no, I'm the face of this company versus the original face of this company. I take it as more of that than it is about I
like that story.
Well, that's how I took it, as opposed to women's wrestling is important and we're both women who wrestle.
Yeah, I like your version. I definitely got the women's wrestling at the end of it. I think we can stop that now. Women's wrestling is a thing. We're all on board with it.
I agree. I mean, AEW sometimes has 2 matches on a show.
I didn't use this in my review. Britt recognized Monet's achievements for putting women's wrestling on the match. ... So AEW could have one short women's segment per show. And yeah, I can't touch you, but I can touch you. Bonks Camille on the head. Camille's like, whoa, sits down on Mercedes, and then Britt dives on them both.
Yeah.
Which looked like a weird bump to take.
Well, I'd imagine it probably sucks to take, yeah, having someone falling on top of you. And then Britt posed with the belt, so she's 100% not winning on Sunday.
Oh, do you think?
Well,
Well, we'll do all-in predictions tomorrow.
Yeah, with our special guests. We are going to be in studio here on the WrestleTalk Podcast for our all-in predictions, joined by Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez of the Wrestling Observer and Figure 4.
I don't know what I'm going to do.
I know.
I might just sit there and listen to Dave, and every time you try and move something on, I'll say, "Oh, and what else about that?" What happened in the 70s?
Does that remind you of something from the 1960s?
Well, tell me again about Rocky Johnson and his tag run with Sam
Oh,
Mushnick.
no. If you really want to get him going, ask him about roller derby.
Oh. So how big was it? What, and you're telling me it's like wrestling? Explain that.
They made a movie about it, didn't they?
3-hour podcast.
How was that? Do you feel it was accurate to the scene at the time?
It'll be cool because we use Meltzer and Alvarez's research. You do a lot for the TNA reviews as well.
Yeah.
So we can ask Alvarez about his negative 2-star thoughts on Abyss and Sting.
Thing is, like, so I said this on Tuesday's podcast when we reviewed Raw, but I sort of bumped into Brian Alvarez at the Defy show last year on All In Weekend, and it is one of the few times where I felt genuinely nervous about approaching someone, and I was just trying to be as cool as I possibly could, and the only thing I blurted out, and I cannot believe, was just like, "Oh man, I loved your TNA reviews." I'm like, "Of course you said that's what everyone says to him," and I've thought about it for a year.
Well, I'll bring that up. I said Luke said something embarrassing that he wants to rectify.
Yeah, what I'm going to say to him next, the gold boat. Yeah, he hasn't heard that one before.
I guess a lot of, I would like to think a lot of you listen to us a lot, and we feel like you feel like you know us very well. That's how I feel for Meltzer and Alvarez. I've been listening to them like 4 times a week for 8 years.
You today, because they're traveling to the UK at the moment, they hadn't done their Dynamite review, and you were on lunch, and you were like, "What am I going to do now?"
Yeah. So annoyed. Actually annoyed at them. Can't fault them there. So after this, we got Chris Jericho versus Tommy Billington. Jericho's backstage being interviewed by Renee beforehand. Says it's great to be here in Cardiff, England. Great
Good
heat.
joke.
And then he says, I'm facing Tommy Billington, the Dynamite Kid. What right does he have to be called the Dynamite Kid, apart from being blood related to the guy?
I've wrestled alongside. I've been in the same building as him before. You've never even been on Dynamite.
Really good. And I actually like this match a lot.
Oh, okay.
I just like the way Billington carries himself. It's so weird because he does look a lot like the original Dynamite Kid, just in his gait.
Yeah, he looks like a British wrestler in the most politest way possible. When Tommy Billington came out, I was like, "You look like a British wrestler."
Well, he came out to rule Britannia.
Of course he did.
I like this. I thought Jericho gave him a lot. I thought Jericho made him look really good as well. Brian Keith and I've written Big Cass here, but Big Bill kept on interfering, and like Billington hit a tombstone pile driver on Jericho at one point.
Sure did.
He's gonna do the flying headbutt, but he looks outside. There's Big Bill. There's Brian Keith. He takes them out instead. Gets up, goes for the flying headbutt. Jericho's had time to recover. Catches it in a code breaker for the win.
Yeah, fun. I enjoyed it.
Nice to see the code breaker finish a match as well.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah, like it's a very good. It's a good Jericho match, a good TV match.
Personally, I've seen like there was some comments are like, "Why did Billington do that? He looked stupid. Should have just beat Jericho." For me, it's smart because they kept interfering in the match.
Yeah.
So you got to take them out first.
Absolutely, because if he'd hit the diving headbutt, what's to stop them pulling out the referee or putting the foot on the ropes?
Jericho cuts a promo afterwards that if Hook was here in Cardiff, he'd rip him apart. Lo and behold, Hook's here. He runs down like an idiot, and Big Bill chokeslams him.
Yeah. So he's probably winning on Sunday.
and hopefully we can move on.
Well, no, because the stipulation was if he loses, he's able to be free of the Jericho Vortex. But if he wins, the feud must continue.
Who has ever gotten over in AEW from working in a Jericho faction?
From a Jericho faction, Sammy, for a brief period of time. Daniel Garcia. You can argue Garcia got over by being part of the Jericho Appreciation Society because he got the dance in that.
Mm-hmm. But then it was snuffed out. Long term over.
I think Daniel Garcia. I
don't think that's because of the Jericho faction.
I think, well, I'm only saying that because that's where the dance originated from. And the dance carried over into what he is doing now. And the dance is still massively over. So I'd say, I would only say Daniel Garcia. Okay. But I think Garcia is an answer you could possibly give. And also, just to, ease your mind about Hook moving on from this, we have not had the return of Samoa Joe yet, who needs to get his revenge on Chris Jericho. So this feud will continue post All In.
I wouldn't mind a Joe Hook feud. Over the I just get rid of the FTW belt. Tony Storm, excuse me. Tony Storm then took on Saraya. Crowd were really into Tony Storm here, even at the expense of Saraya, who's from kind of here.
Well, yes, from Norwich. Taz even said on commentary, was like, man, I guess the Welsh don't like people from Norwich, eh?
This was... I mean, I like the match because Tony Storm was doing some old World of Sport stuff, the grab here. But it is comedy wrestling.
So a little bit.
And there was the Greco-Roman lip lock on Harley Cameron on the outside, and then on Saraya. They were doing a pose off at one point, and Tony Storm won with the Storm Zero, and then Mariah May attacked her afterwards with the heel. I was just like, oh.
Yeah, my two notes on this were, A, this being an AEW Women's World Championship, I find to be fascinating, because obviously you've advertised a World Championship match for the pay-per-view in 4 days' time, so that's surely the match we're building towards, so this doesn't need to be a Women's World Championship match. But it's this kind of like old-school TV mentality that if your world champion, that's not your world champion, but if a women's world champion or a TBS champion or a TNT champion is wrestling on the show, it is for the title, because the idea is the casual viewer flicking through is like, oh, a title match. Well, I'd better stick around to watch the whole match in case I get to see a title change, which is a thing from 20 plus years ago. I would be fascinated to know now the psychology if that still works, because I don't think it. Well, I can't imagine it does, but maybe there are studies that say, oh no, it actually does. Like, it being a title match does make people stick around to watch more. The second point, and I think this is a more crucial one, that's just an interesting observation, if I do say so myself. This needed a hotter go-home angle. They did a really good angle last week, and they did a really good angle the week before. I feel like they almost pulled the trigger a bit too early on this one and had nothing left in the tank for this feud. And I think that's a shame, because this has been one of my favorite feuds of the build for All In, and it is like among my most anticipated matches, if not my most anticipated match for this Sunday. But I thought it's, as a go-home angle, this was what you would do on week 2, as opposed to week 4.
Agreed. We got a very fun Mark Briscoe promo with the Conglomeration backstage, as always, and then Kyle O'Reilly does an English accent, which I quite enjoyed.
Yeah, but again, you're in Wales.
Yeah.
But this is, this is the American way, right? Of just like, you're all the same, yeah? You're not a different country at all. You're all English.
British. They both announced that they'll be in the Casino Gauntlet match. So Orange Cassidy, Kyle, and Mark Briscoe, and later Hangman Page. He's going to murder them. Then we got the Ospreay MJF promo, which, as we've already covered, was excellent. Then it is the Renee backstage interview with Hangman Page. She describes that there's been an incident or an altercation of some sort. Hangman's angry as usual. And he says he's in the Casino Gauntlet. He's going to destroy anyone who gets in his way, from him to Swerve Strickland. And in the background, poor Evil Uno chooses this moment to walk by
Uno, my friend, are you going to be in the Casino Gauntlet match? And he was like, well, actually, as it just so happens, I just spoke with Tony Khan, and hey, guess what, everyone? Evil Uno's going to be in the Casino Gauntlet. And I was like, oh, that's good. Yeah. It's good that you're in this. As he grabs a chair, and then he decks Evil Uno with it. He's like, no one is getting in my way of achieving my goal.
I really like the setup of this. Just the way Evil Uno's just talking directly. It's like, yeah, this is happening. And then you just see Hangman Page. But he doesn't hit him flat back.
No.
He gets the edge and he just rams it into the base of Evil Uno's skull.
Yeah.
I appreciate that attention to violence. But Hangman is so deranged. Yeah, I'm not going to do like the chair shot everyone does. I'm actually hurting people.
Yeah. Very good.
Okada versus Claudio Castagnoli next for the Continental Championship. A fine match. Not a fine match. A fine match.
I thought this was excellent pro wrestling.
15 minutes of fine match. And then last 5 minutes of, oh boy, okay, here we go. Okada, let's get into this gear.
There's the Okada template for you right there.
He must have been going, wait, there's a 20-minute time limit to this match, but I start at 25 minutes. What shall I do?
Fast forward the first 5, where you just do a lot of lockups. Although he did get to do that spot.
So yeah, it's just very good. I loved Excalibur putting over how physically they're very similar height, similar reach. I'm looking at them, you're like, you are the Swiss and Japanese versions of each other. And goes through 2 commercial breaks. The real good stuff happened with Okada doing the Rainmaker pose, but he does the middle finger, and Cesaro just stands up behind him, straight into the Claudio, straight into the... I've been in WWE mind in my notes here. I called him Big Cass earlier, and I've got Cesaro all written through these notes here. But yes, Claudio goes for a running lariat, but it's like perfectly timed Okada drop kick.
Beautiful. He hits the pop-up uppercut, but Okada just rolls to the outside. They'd already announced at this point as well there's only 1 minute remaining. And they go back and forth. He grabs him back into the ring after doing that pop-up uppercut. Okada kicks out, and then the time expires. The crowd chant for 5 more minutes, and out come the Young Bucks to see if the crowd really do want this 5 more minutes for the match. But unfortunately for Claudio Castagnoli, Mr. Rainmaker over here signed a contract for a 20-minute match, so I'm a stickler for the rules. It can only be a 20-minute match.
Yeah. I really like the way Okada, the greatest wrestler of his generation, is just holding on that bottom rope. He's such a good heel wrestler.
Yeah, he's really
in
good.
This role. I think based off this is our match for All Out.
Yeah, because they then brawl afterwards, don't they? And then sort of brawled out. I actually looked at it more as this feels like we're setting up BCC versus the Elite.
Yeah, that could also be a part of this.
Because if Danielson does win the belt, the Elite might be looking at him as the world champion. I wager we're going to get Moxley back in the Casino Gauntlets. Mm-hmm. So maybe this is something we can set up there. Because like the Bucks did, deny Claudio the 5 more minutes. So maybe, I know we've done the Elite BCC. We did that last year. But this is a different version of the Elite, and it's almost a different version of the BCC as well.
FTR and Darby Allin come down for the sort of Claudio save here. And that turns into our advertised 6-man match for the night. The Elite of the Bucks and Jack Perry versus FTR and Darby Allin. And it was just like, it was chaos. It was great.
Yeah, this was your trios match for the week. Good fun.
Of course, Darby's killing himself, going really fast on the bullet dives outside. Triple sharpshooter spot, really fun. And then the Elite, all right, I've had enough of this, grab their titles, start to walk outside the ring and then up the ramp. Cash Wheeler. Jesus Christ. Did the Darby's fast bullet dive just as fast, but with all of Cash Wheeler.
Yeah, much more dense.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a fridge did it instead.
But then inside, we get the superplex splash combo from FTR and the coffin drop finish on Matt Jackson for the faces to win, as they're all challenging for the belts this this Sunday.
Yeah, I thought it was a fun sprint of a trios match.
Yeah, I thought this is exactly what it needed to be.
Yeah.
And I got my 6-man segment fun, so very happy. The Acclaimed come out afterwards and they're like, yeah, us, we're in this too.
And we're gonna win.
Yeah, you are, aren't you?
I was curious to see what the reaction for the Acclaimed would be, bearing in mind that I believe the reason why they are in this match is because they were so over with the London crowd last year at All In that I wonder if Tony Khan's like, hey, look, those people in London loved the Acclaimed, so we should really put them in the title picture. And the reaction was, yeah, fine. Yeah. Thanks for showing up. Lovely to have you here in Wales. Hope you enjoy Chippy Alley.
Doctor Who experience.
Hey, we'll probably see you at All In. It wasn't a bad reaction. They didn't get booed, but it wasn't like an overwhelming thing. And they did do the Everyone Loves the Acclaimed. Yeah, they weren't doing that, but they did do Everyone Loves the Acclaimed. But that was more a Pavlovian response.
I don't get well, I do get what they're doing. I just disagree with it, I guess. Because Bowens is overtly a babyface, I would say. You know, he's doing all the babyface stuff. Everyone loves the Acclaimed. That makes me think Caster also considers himself a babyface. But this whole act of calling himself the best wrestler alive in the company that he's in, I just don't, it doesn't work. And if his aim is to work us, but to what
end? It's always going to be the question when you're asking why you're working someone is to what end?
Yeah, because he's obviously nowhere near the best wrestler in the world.
Well, not with that attitude.
Renee, this is when we get the do it from Danielson, because the main event segment is Danielson and Swerve going face to face. It's the final showdown. Great titling for a segment. Nigel McGuinness is doing the MCing.
I was texting the promoter of his magic show that he's doing on I think he's doing it on Friday night, which we couldn't go to because we're going to Riot Cabaret. I texted him being like, if you speak to Nigel today, let him know that he was fantastic in the main event segment.
Oh, he's so funny. He goes, ladies, gentlemen, and sheep.
His little look up as he went, and sheep.
And usually I'd sit here and go, this is the world title go home segment of a championship versus career storyline of McGuinness's former storied eternal rival Bryan Danielson. Don't do comedy in this bit. Didn't mind it, mate. Swerve comes out and Nigel is just overtly favouring him in this. He says some people are calling Danielson the neck break kid. Yeah, it's him.
Some people call him Brittle Brian. I'm like, yeah, it's you, Nige.
How does it feel to be going into All In as the overwhelming favourite? Just more softballs than the first half hour of a WWE post-show media conference.
But what I loved is Swerve was the one who kind of brought it around to the seriousness and almost felt like not annoyed by Nigel's overt favoritism towards him, because there was even points where it was like, look at me, Nigel, while I'm talking. You know, like, don't you go anywhere. You hold this microphone while I'm talking. He kind of turned this around to being more of a serious thing.
Yeah.
And he basically said to Danielson, it's like, look, I'm hearing all these interviews that you're doing where you're saying that you're okay with retirement. You've made peace with your retirement. Don't you dare take this moment away from me. Don't you dare take away me ending your career away from me. And I know what's going to happen because I'm going to finish you. And then if it just so happens, if God willing, you're able to still walk after All In, 10 years down the line, you're going to be at home and you're going to look at Brie and you're going to be like, maybe I've got an itch to get back in the ring. So you'll do a little independent in Washington. And guess what? I'll be there watching you and ending you again. Or maybe you'll go to Arena Mexico and you'll do it under a mask and an alias. I'll be there and I will end you. I thought this was really, really cool. This guy is dedicated to the cause of ending Bryan Danielson.
Just as much as Hangman is ironically dedicated to the cause of ending Swerve Strickland.
Yeah.
I felt like he insinuated a home invasion as well at one point, because he brought up, when you're talking to Brie, I'll be there too in your home.
I always feel like there's an underlying threat that might happen.
With Swerve, it's always is he going to invade my home?
I mean,
cut a promo on a baby?
He's got previous. So it won't be the first time he's broken into someone's home to cut a promo.
So Danielson just runs down and he immediately hits the knee. Swerve and Nigel go spilling. He grabs the mic and he says, I'm the best effing wrestler in the world. And I have been for 20 years. For the fans who've supported me for 25 years, for everyone backstage, for his wife and family, he's going to leave his soul in that ring. So I ask you all, can Danielson, the American effing dragon, beat Swerve for the title?
A money promo.
Like 40 seconds long.
Yeah.
Sweet, like short, succinct, and never has, like, the F word worked better at selling me on a match.
Yeah.
Can't wait. It was a fantastic closing segment.
There was a line in here that really made me laugh in terms of like when I was making my notes. Because the first words he said were, I know some people have been really confused about my actions recently. And I wrote in my notes here, yeah, Ollie.
I feel heard.
And then when he was like proper fired up and he was just like, I am the best effing wrestler in the world. That beautifully, it was well read as well of like, I'm going to leave my soul in this ring. Excalibur had a superb line where he was like, this is what Jeff Jarrett was trying to get out of him. This is the Bryan Danielson that Eddie Kingston wanted. I've been on board for this storyline. I don't think it's been like the best told storyline, but I have been on board with the story that they have been telling. And I thought this was a great cap off to this. And it's been what I've been wanting to see out of Bryan Danielson. And I got it in that 40-second promo. And I cannot wait for the match.
He never said he's going to... Throughout this entire time, he's never said he's going to win. He's never said, I'm going to be the new champion. He's always said, I will give it everything. And usually that means he's going to lose. But I think he's playing 4D chess. And he's on purposely not saying that to make me think he's going to lose and retire.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens on Sunday. Overall, I gave it 88%.
I think they have done a really good job of sowing the seeds of doubt of whether or not Danielson is going to win or not. I was joking with Tempest and Pete earlier when we were recording TLC. I said, if I was the booker of All In, I would book Hangman Page to win the Casino Gauntlet because that spreads even more doubt amongst everyone there that if Danielson is going to win the belts. Because if Hangman wins and he's now the new number one contender to the world title, your immediate thought is going to be, well, they're building to Hangman Swerve. And you can do Danielson Hangman. You can absolutely do that match. And that'd be a really fun match. And they've got Pryor as well, Wangman. So like you can tie back into a lot of that. But it really would seed doubts in your mind.
Yeah. Cannot wait. Really can't wait for this weekend. Very excited. Before we get into our remaining Omega chats, let's say a big thank you to our wonderful Pledgehammers on Patreon at the $25, or is it $30 now? $30 and above level. The man with the scoops, Sean.
The movie Luke has never seen, Selena.
The Pharaoh, Stephen Mazzaferro.
The Incredible Tarzo.
The Drunken Scotsman.
Keep rolling, Rick Patch.
Trev Dog 316.
Commentator of the Century, Vince Phillips.
He clashed at the castle, William Wallace.
Willie Biggie Singleton.
The Lumberjack, XX Logs XX.
And lastly, for this Hall of Fame class on the 22nd of August, 2024, the Iron Zeke. Speaking of Fred Durst, you seen the trailer for Y2K?
No.
It's the A24 comedy about a house party for 1999 going into 2000. But the Y2K bug is real, and it turned all the machines against everyone.
Excellent.
Fred Durst is in it.
That's my kind of movie. Last call for Omega Chats. WrestleTalk.com/support. Noshua4 says, hey guys, the energy of the Cardiff crowd was awesome to see on Twitter. Getting me incredible... Why on Twitter? Did you not watch the show? Getting me incredibly hyped for All In this Sunday. Also, Michael Oku in a dark match. There's a Casino Gauntlet entree. Looking forward to Wembley. Hope you lads have a good time.
Yeah, me too. I've had Oku down for a while as an entrant into the Casino Gauntlet. I think if I can get some other predictions out there. I know we're doing the prediction show tomorrow. Zach.
Yeah.
Being in there. Mox. Adam Cole.
Mm-hmm. Big.
And my big ones. And Ricochet number 2.
Bobby Lashley.
I think
MVP.
Bobble's in there as well.
Sheldon Benjamin. Kevin says, Brian looking like he didn't care, looked like it was on purpose, especially when Excalibur said, this is the Brian that Jarrett and Eddie Kingston want. I also love Swerve's line of, you're not taking this from me. I cannot wait for Sunday.
Yeah, of course it was on purpose. He was working us all.
Yeah, I got that it was on purpose. I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
Andy Sandbox, 11-month Memberg. Can't watch live, but excited to see later. I have one question. Did you notice Brian's flannel was crazy similar to his retirement flannel? Same colour. I did notice that. Mm-hmm. But with Brian, I think he might have just picked it out the wardrobe.
There's every chance. It was just, he did this specifically on purpose so that people could make the connection, or it was Wednesday.
Yeah.
And that was just his, that was the first flannel he picked up.
We've had a check on this. It's a very similar plaid pattern and colorway, but not the same shirt. Rafael Garcia says, I just noticed that when Brian came out, he came out in his flannel he wore when he retired the first time. Is this an omen? A pigeon secretly working for the government? Can you find whales in Wales? I don't know, but I think my sign will be Final Countdown. The roller coaster says, or the roller coaster, hey guys, yeah, we've seen the interviews and read the reports, but is it entirely possible Danielson is pulling the greatest troll of all time by winning the title at All In, then go on a 6 to 9 month tear with the title? Just for the lols? Have a great day.
I didn't even consider this, but what if Birdie never asked him to retire?
He loves to lie.
He does love to lie. And he's just been this whole time just being like, oh yeah, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to blame it on the kid. I've got no plans on retiring whatsoever. And yeah, he just goes on a year-long run with the belt. And every month's like, well, this is probably where he's going to drop the title because he's got to go home to the kid at some point.
And maybe you could get a storyline in there where it's not every match, every defense is also kind of his career on the line.
Yeah.
He's like, I will retire when I lose this title. And then you get that sort of Ric Flair run in the end of WWE where every match was a potential retirement match.
Career-threatening match.
Yeah. Oh, I love that, actually. I want that to happen now.
I don't know who I want to win more.
Well, Danielson now.
I know, but
it just happened.
But I'm really enjoying Swerve as champion.
Nick Smith says, here's $10 to help replace your confetti beer this weekend. Thank you.
You need more than that. We're going to Wembley.
Great MJF Ospreay promo. Not really into Brit versus CEO, to be honest. I'd be more excited if Camille took her out at the start of the pay-per-view and Hayter shows up to take her place in the co-main event spot.
If I was to make a prediction for Hayter, I think on the pre-show, Saraya comes out, annoyed that she's not on the show, lays out an open challenge, Hayter's music hits, 2-minute squash.
Not Casino Gauntlet?
What, put Hayter in the Casino Gauntlet?
Hannah Allen says, hello, lovelies. What a go-home show. I've been off work sick, so I've been absorbing all this in content. Loving it. Seriously, this MJF Ospreay stuff was amazing. The moment MJF broke, chef's kiss. Wonderful time to be a fan. Lots of love. Jam that jam. By the way, love the women's stuff. Felt a little off with the Saraya versus Storm angle, but it's all still working for me. Storm's gear, real cute. Luke, the recent Alien video on cutscene was so good.
Thank you.
Love the definitive wrestling RPG brilliance as well. Oh, thank you. Love you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Hannah. Chew Baxter. Hello, boys. I can't stay for the stream, but I have to say I've been loving the MJF segments for the news so far. Also, a bit of fantasy booking. If Danielson wins on Sunday, the man who does defeat him for the title should be called the Dragon Slayer.
Wasn't that, was it Dragon Tamer, I think, wasn't it? When Daniel Garcia beat him, and that was what he renamed the move to.
Red Death. That's the best name for Daniel Garcia.
Yeah.
Red Death is just so cool. Charles Berg, Memberg for 39 months. I think Danielson will win, regardless if he wins or loses. I doubt this will be his last match ever. MJF is still top tier.
Certainly is.
And finally, the last few chats. CNN187 says, great show all around. About Sunday meetup, is the VIP pass only for skipping the line? Or do we get the opportunity to chat and drink a pint with you guys? I got the VIP and was looking forward to saying hi.
Actually, it's both. So the VIP allows you to skip the queue and get entry much easier. But if anyone gets in, whomever gets in, you get to come and have a drink with us. You've just got the option now, the ability, to skip the line and get in easier. So yeah, absolutely, come up and say hello. That's what we're there for. We've got our own little lounge area, the WrestleTalk Lounge, which we will be at. And you're more than welcome to come up and say hello. This is a good name. Ober Feminists Unite. I've not heard of Ober Feminists. I believe it's a Twitter thing.
Yeah. They've just giving us $10 with no message. Thank
you very much.
Kevin says, it's okay to have a copium addiction. We've all been there in our teenage years. My old forum posts were rough. I was so hard on TNA in 2012. I even thought the Aces and Eights were amazing. By the way, Aces and Eights for the next WrestleTalk extra topic.
As long as we get to watch the episode with the wedding.
There were parts of Aces and Eights that were really good.
Really good.
They just probably should have won a match. Spencer Trainer. Hey boys, back with an amazing Go Home Dynamite. Brian got to drop an F-bomb in a spectacular promo. Swerve telling him, I own you. MJF's bravado cracking. Britt with a fantastic promo. Hangman even more unhinged. And Jericho, like always, was also there.
He certainly was.
And finally for now, Mayor of Painesville, Dan.
Yes.
Hello, Luke. Hello, Ollie. This Saturday, I am flying over. Can't wait to see what is happening at Almost In. Hopefully, many WrestleTalk people and fans will be there. I want to meet everyone.
Yeah, so that is Almost In. That is where the meetup that's happening at the Box Park in Wembley. So even if you didn't get one of the VIP tickets, do come down. It's a free event. So just come down, join the queue, and hopefully we'll meet you before these things. We're on stage at 1:30 for a live edition of Survival Series. Just a one-round thing. We're only on stage for about 20-odd minutes. But yeah, come and see us about 1:30. We're going to be on stage. And then after that, it's Mega Ran.
Yeah, that's crazy. Who came up with Almost In?
The promoter.
Excellent. But thank you very much. Remember to go over, watch the news. Please go check out our Patreon, patreon.com/WrestleTalk. We'll have... When is WrestleTalk Extra going up? Next Wednesday?
Next Wednesday, I think.
Next Wednesday, so go over there for that. And also the whole breakup of the Shield 7-episode arc is up there to watch right now as well, if you're not a member already, Patreon already. And yeah, subscribe, because tomorrow, All In predictions right here with Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez on this very set.
In this very studio, on this very set with these very microphones. Yeah, we've closed the poll as well. 87% thumbs up with 10% thumbs in the middle.
Mine was 88%.
You were nearly there again. You all right?
How many microphones have we got?
4.
Oh, good.
You know we do After Dark, right?
Yeah, I can't remember. See you tomorrow. Jam that jam.
Jam that jam, everyone.